Go hard and go early or risk losing tens of thousands of lives. The Prime Minister said today that it was time to ramp up the nation's response to Covid-19 to stop its spread. She said whilst New Zealand was some way behind other countries in terms of the number of cases, New Zealand needed to act quickly to contain it.
We currently have 102 cases, but so did Italy once. Now the virus has overwhelmed their health system, and hundreds of people are dying every day. The situation here is moving at pace, and so must we. We have always said we would act early, decisively, and go hard, and we will. Today, 36 new cases were announced. While the majority of these cases continue to be linked to overseas travel in some way, I can also confirm, as did the Director General of Health, that we have 2 cases where public health officials have been unable to find how they came in contact with COVID-19. On that basis, we now consider there is transmission within our communities. If community transmission takes off in New Zealand, the number of cases will double every 5 days. If that happens unchecked, our health system will be inundated, and tens of thousands of New Zealanders will die.
The Prime Minister said now is the time to act, and the only way to reduce the spread of the virus was for people to stay home. She went on to explain what alert levels 3 and 4 mean.
Let me set out what this will mean for everyone in practical terms. Supermarkets, doctors, pharmacies, service stations, access to essential banking services will be available throughout New Zealand at every alert level. If you do not have immediate needs, do not go to the supermarket. It will be there for you today, it will be there for you tomorrow, and the day after that. We must give time for supermarkets to restock their shelves. There will be enough for everyone if we shop normally. Stock is not an issue in New Zealand. We will not run out of food. In the meantime, we will be working through practices like those used overseas to make sure that when people are visiting essential services, that we are maintaining social distance at all times. Non-essential businesses in New Zealand must now close. All bars, restaurants, cafes, cinemas, pools, museums, libraries, playgrounds, any other place where the public congregate must close their face-to-face function. Over the next 48 hours, those who provide, for instance, takeaway services must move to close their operations also. All indoor and outdoor events cannot proceed. In short, we are all now preparing as a nation to go into self-isolation in the same way that we have seen many other countries do. Staying at home is essential. It's a simple but highly effective way to constrain the virus. It denies it a place to go and will help give our healthcare system a fighting chance. Over the next 48 hours, every workplace must implement alternative ways of working. People must work from home so that interactions with others are limited. Essential services will need to put in place alternative ways of working that ensure physical distancing of staff of 2 metres or utilise appropriate personal protective equipment.
And the Prime Minister said schools would be closed from tomorrow.
Except to the children of essential workers such as doctors, nurses, ambulance drivers, police, and there will be others on that list. This will give them time to plan, but it will be temporary. Schools will close entirely from midnight on Wednesday. The school term will be brought forward. For the remainder of the term, schools will establish ways to teaching online and remotely. All students across the country are currently being given information on this decision for their parents, including the list of who is considered an essential service. This will be communicated directly to parents as well. To be absolutely clear, we are now asking all New Zealanders who are outside essential services to stay at home and to stop all interaction with others outside of those in your household. I understand that self-isolation is a daunting prospect, so we are being practical. You can leave your home for fresh air, a walk, for exercise, to take your children outside, but please remember this simple principle. It must be solitary. We're asking you only spend time with those you are in self-isolation with. And if you are outside, keep your distance from others. That means 2 metres at all times.
Jacinda Ardern also said that travel around New Zealand would be about to change.
Over the next 48 hours, people will need to go home, be it locally or throughout the country. We have asked all air transport providers to ensure social distancing for that period. After 48 hours, we'll be moving to air travel only applying to the transport of people undertaking essential services and the transport of freight. Public transport will also begin to transition over the next 48 hours and will only be available for those working in essential services, for medical reasons and to move essential goods, including ferry services between the North and South Island. Further details on the transition we are all now making will be made publicly available on the Covid-19 website. Now I want to share with you what will happen while we are all in alert level 4 to get ahead of COVID-19. We will continue to vigorously contact trace every single case. Testing will continue at pace to help us understand the current number of cases in New Zealand and where they are based. If we flush out the cases we already have and see transmission slow, we will potentially be able to move areas out of level 4 over time. But for the next wee while, things will look worse before they look better. In the short term, the number of cases will likely rise because the virus is already in our community. But these new measures can slow the virus down and prevent our health system from being overwhelmed and ultimately save lives. To be successful, though, to stop community transmission, which does have a lag time, these measures will need to be in place for 4 weeks. Again, I want to reiterate to you, you will be able to make regular visits to essential services in that time. Your supermarkets will not close. Your pharmacy and pharmaceutical products will be available. You will be able to access medical services. If we, after those 4 weeks, have been successful, I hope then we will be able to ease these restrictions. If we haven't, we'll find ourselves living with them for longer. That is why sticking to the rules matters. If we don't, if you hang out with your friend at a park or see a family member for lunch, you risk spreading COVID-19 and extending the nation's time in level 4.
The Prime Minister said our low number of cases compared to the rest of the world gives New Zealand a chance, but doesn't mean the country has escaped.
But I wanted to share with you the stark choice that we have faced as government. Medical modelling considered by Cabinet today suggests that without the measures I have just announced, up to tens of thousands of New Zealanders could die from COVID-19. Everything you will all give up for the next few weeks, all of the lost contact with others, all of the isolation and difficult time entertaining children, it will literally save lives, thousands of lives. The worst case scenario is simply intolerable. It would represent the greatest loss of New Zealanders' lives in our history, and I will not take that chance. I would rather make this decision now and save those lives and be in lockdown for a shorter period than delay, see New Zealanders lose loved ones and their contact with each other for an even longer period. I hope that you are all with me on that decision. Together we do have an opportunity to contain the spread and to prevent the worst. I cannot stress enough the need for every New Zealander to follow the advice I've laid out for you today. As a government, We will, and I hope you have seen this, we will do everything in our power to protect you. Now I'm asking you to do everything you can to protect all of us. None of us can do this alone. Your actions will be critical to our collective ability to stop COVID-19. Failure of anyone to play their part in coming days will put the lives of others at risk, and there will be no tolerance for that. We will not hesitate to use our enforcement powers if needed. We are in this together. I'm in no doubt that the measures I've announced today will cause unprecedented economic and social disruption, but they are necessary. I have one final message. Be kind. I know people will want to act as enforcers, and I understand that. People are afraid and they are anxious. But we will play the role of enforcer. What we need from you, our community, is you to support others. Go home tonight and check on your neighbours. Start a phone tree with your street. Plan how you'll keep in touch with one another. We will get through this together, but only if we stick together. So please be strong and be kind.
That was Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern.